Hey, I'm Mike, and I'm a noisemaker. And it has nothing to do with me, and it has nothing to do with you. In Second Timothy chapter 2, verses 20 through 21, it says, "In a large house there are articles not only of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay. Some are for special purposes, and some are for common use. Those who cleanse themselves from the latter will be instruments for special purposes, made holy and useful to the master, and prepared to do any good work." A few years back, I started college, and I remember on the first day of class, I was sitting in one of my professor's classes, and she asked the question, "What kind of vessel would you be if you had to describe yourself in that term? Would you be a cup? Would you be a bowl? Would you be a plate? Would you be a basket? Etc." And she gave us about 10, 15 minutes to sit around and think about this and jot down some notes. And I was sitting there thinking, what am I? How would I describe myself? I don't think I describe myself as a basket. I don't think I describe myself as a cup. What would I describe myself as? And it was in that moment that I realized how I would describe myself. A few minutes went by, and she came around to me in class, and she said, "So how would you describe yourself?" And I said, "I would describe myself as a broken bowl." And she looked at me, and she couldn't quite figure out where I was going with this. So she asked me, "Could you elaborate on that? Explain?" And I said, "Sure." And I said, "I am a vessel for my Heavenly Father. I am a vessel for God. And I describe myself as a broken bowl because a broken bowl can't hold anything. A broken bowl is just when you pour into it, it flows out." And in my mind's eye, I was thinking of those fountains, and I'm sure you've seen them, the fountains that sit out in your garden. They look really pretty. And there's one that I've seen that had a cracked bowl. And out of the crack came flowing this waterfall. And this waterfall went down and it went over some rocks, and it was really pretty, but I kind of got fixated on that broken bowl. Because no matter how much water was poured into that bowl, it just came flowing out. And I think that's what we all need to be. We all need to be a broken bowl or a broken cup or a broken something. Because the moment that we say we're perfect, the moment that we say we have everything together, that we don't need any help from anyone, that's the moment where, when things get poured into our lives, we become stale because there's no outflow. There's no flow through our body. We lose balance because we are always just trying to keep ourselves full. But if we're broken, if we're humble, and we know that we have problems, where we have imperfections, we have things that might not be what the world would consider as altogether, then when we have things poured into our lives, those things end up going out and helping others. Because that's what we do. When we see that we're imperfect, when we see that we don't have our stuff together, we want to not only help ourselves, but we also want to help others. Because we know as we're helping others, they're helping us, and there's this symbiotic relationship to where we're helping each other and fixing each other. Tonight I was actually sitting down in my chair, and I was flipping through the channels, and I came across Pay It Forward. Now, if you haven't seen this movie, it's from the 90s, so it has a really sad ending, which my wife and I actually talked about why 90s movies all had sad endings. But the idea of the movie was, if you help one person and you tell that person to go on and help another three people, then eventually we're all helping each other. And the trick is you could only help someone if they couldn't do it themselves. That was the caveat. You couldn't just go out there and get something for someone that they could get perfectly well on their own. No, you had to do something for someone that they couldn't do for themselves. And it's an amazing illustration of what we should be as Christians. It's an amazing illustration of how we should love each other and how we should give each other hope, because we're meant to work together. We're not meant to be individuals. We're meant to work together. That's why we form friendships. That's why we form relationships. That's why when we're alone, usually we're longing for someone else. We want a friend. We want a spouse. We want our family, because that's the way we're built. We're built to want relationship. We're built to want someone. So it makes sense that we're also built to help each other. We can't do it all on our own. We can't do everything on our own. And that's why we have to not only rely on each other, but the most important thing is we need to rely on God. Because God is calling us to come to Him so He can help us. He knows that we can't do it on our own. That's why He's there. That's why he reaches out to us and wants to help us. It says in 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 6 through 10, even if I should choose to boast, I would not be a fool, because I would be speaking the truth. Now, this is the Apostle Paul speaking. And he did some great and amazing things. He had every reason to boast. But he says, but I refrain, so no one will think more of me than is warranted by what I do or say, or because of these surpassingly great revelations. Therefore, in order to keep me from becoming conceited, I was given a thorn in my flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but He said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. For my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weakness, about my brokenness, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in my weakness, in insults and hardships and persecutions and difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. Now, I know it's hard to rejoice and delight in your weaknesses and your insults and your hardship and your persecutions and your difficulties. Because let's face it, the world's not easy. The world's not fair. The world's not perfect. But as God said, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, if we acknowledge that we're weak, if we acknowledge that we don't have all of our stuff together and we need a Heavenly Father to step in, we need a God to step in and take care of us, if we can acknowledge that, His power is made perfect in it. Because it says, just like Paul said, for when I am weak, then I am strong. This is Mike, and like I said before, I'm a noisemaker.